Hi, guys, and welcome back to the Rare Wellness Podcast, the podcast designed to help you heal holistically and give you the tools that you need to thrive. We're making it easy to understand medicine and wellness with practical steps from the experts, one podcast at a time. The only thing that we ask is that if this episode helps you live just a little bit better and a little more aligned, that you'll leave us a review and you'll share this with a friend. That's all that we ask so that we can continue to provide you with free, valuable knowledge from the experts of well-being. In today's episode, we're going to be talking all things sound healing, yoga, and we're going to have one of my favorite yoga teachers on. Last time me and Ashley talked, we did an entire episode on yoga and its impact on her journey, recovering through addiction and injuries, and just what a powerful healing tool it is. So today we're going to be diving a little bit deeper into the sound healing aspect of it. Ashley is a yoga instructor whose incredible transformation through yoga and sound healing has touched countless lives. Ashley started yoga for self-healing and used yoga as a tool to overcome addiction and regain control of her life. And she also overcame a really tough ACL recovery, which you should go back and listen to the other episode to get all of the details on. And she gained even more understanding of the healing properties of yoga through that, and then shares those healing gifts with others as her life passion and her work. She incorporates sound healing and her musical gifts into a lot of her classes. And I know from sitting through those classes myself, she is so talented, and I always leave feeling like my nervous system is just restored and regulated, and like I found clarity for whatever it is that I'm going through. So Ashley, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I always love chatting with you, and I'm really excited to just dive deeper into this and learn more.
Oh, thank you too. I appreciate you asking me to do this again. Last time was so much fun. And I think we have a little bit better of a connection this time. So
I know, guys, if you don't know, last time Ashley was calling in from Hawaii. And wait, what all happened last time? Didn't like the power go out and then batteries were dying, but she still made it through the whole thing with a smile on her face. So
the power went out like 30 seconds right when I got on. So then I had to get on to my personal Wi-Fi. And then my phone was dying throughout the podcast, and my boyfriend's so sweet. He just shows up with this power bank, and then afterwards, the computer died, which then the
recording uploading.
So we had to go to the coffee shop. But that's what I feel like that's what yoga has done in my life is handle situations like that now.
Yeah, it's crazy because I had no idea on the other end. You didn't show at all, like on your face. I had no idea that all of these things were going on. And I was literally about to say, I feel like this is a great introduction into the topic, because I feel like for a lot of people, and maybe even like past versions of ourselves, right? Because like we grow throughout life and we all have our moments, but for a lot of people, when things aren't going according to our plans or things are out of control, which happens a lot, right? Like we just crumble and get so stressed. And I think the fact that you were able to handle that so gracefully and still like embody joy says so much. Have you always been that way? Have you always been that like laid back and like I can handle what happens?
I think maybe on the outside it kind of showed like that, but on the inside I was terrified. I was terrified, and that was part of the nervous system. That was part of my nervous system was freaking out at all times, and so I think that my decision making wasn't as succinct. And I definitely, most of my life used to be cleaning up my messes. and now things like that happen, and I intuitively either just know what to do or going correctly. It's like not a big deal. It's not going to be a big deal. Like there's way worse problems in the world, and not figuring out my Wi-Fi isn't gonna crumble my day. So that's definitely something that I've learned along my journey.
And I feel like it's like that perspective that you have to like wire like right into your body and like rewire into your mind like every single day, which is like what is so powerful about having a practice, whether it's yoga or meditation or journaling, like just having a practice where you're sitting down and like getting that perspective so then you can apply it to life.
Absolutely, because and that's the thing is like I'm reading this one book right now and it tells me that meditation should be in the category of like sports, right? Because like you
Cool.
can have so many ways to meditate and you can have so many ways to do yoga. It's just figuring out or journaling or checking
Mhm.
yourself. And it's all about, really taking those thoughts that we have in our head and putting them in front of us, confronting it instead of, oh, I'll make the to-do list in my head and then I'm going
Yeah.
to shout about it
Yeah.
day long when it's like, just write it down, write it
Yeah.
down.
No, that's so good. And I want to go back to before we even dive into everything, which I'm so excited about. But you said earlier, like, that maybe for a lot of your life, you appeared like people might have thought that you were like happy and fine, but like on the inside, maybe it wasn't like integrated that way. And I definitely can relate to that, where on, for so long, it's like you can't see what someone is going through on the outside. People can't see that what's happening for you. But I think before we even talk about yin and sound healing, like I think the big why is like for everyone listening, like you deserve, like it matters less how things appear and more how things feel. Like you deserve to feel good in your life and you deserve to feel integrated and to just like observe and get to know yourself as a whole human being and then have the courage to share that offering with other people for moments of connection. And if we're not doing that, like if we're just going through the motions but we never take time to like really get to know ourselves, to go on this journey exploring the dark, the ugly, the beautiful, the like all of it, all encompassing, like where is the meaning to life if we're just puppets the whole time? So yeah,
Yes,
like
absolutely. Absolutely. And also like looking to other people on how we're supposed to be reacting is
yes,
really like what I used to do. Or, I'd watch TV shows and like memorize what these main characters are acting like and how they're
yeah,
reacting to the situation. And it's like, that's not real. It's not real.
yeah,
And
yeah,
it's not me. That's more important.
yeah,
Be
yeah,
real for other people, but putting on this mask and playing puppets, I love that.
yeah,
Is exactly what. But I was like the prisoner to my own puppet show,
yeah,
you
yeah,
know. And when you can step back and decide, like, I don't actually like doing that.
yeah,
Or I really like doing that. And like you can feel it in your body. I think that's when
mhm,
you start to, then life starts to get a little less confusing because
yeah,
we're no longer, I can make the decision for myself. I don't have to um look to other people. I can just look inward because I've done the work, and the
yeah.
work is never ending. The work
No,
is but
never
beautiful.
done. Today's podcast is brought to you by the Premium Center for Regenerative Medicine and Stem Cell Therapy in the Northwest, Northwest Center for Regenerative Medicine. Get back to the activities that you love without needing surgery. You can book your appointment at nwc4rm.com. Again, that's nwc4rm.com. This podcast is also brought to you by Rare Wellness Supplements. You can head over to rareplanthealth.com to get your supplements. My personal favorite is the premium fish oil filled with omega-3s. Again, you can go to rareplanthealth.com and get the supplements that you most need to support your health and wellness today. Lastly, this podcast is also brought to you by Rare Wellness. Rare Wellness is located on the South Hill in Spokane and is one center that provides all the wellness tools that you could need. Whether you're looking for a hands-on, premium, intimate yoga studio with a therapeutic emphasis, bar classes, Tai Chi classes, if you're looking for skincare treatments, injectable, hydrofacial, microneedling, organic spa treatments, If you're wanting to get therapeutic massaged or book functional medicine appointments to get down to the root cause of your inflammation, Real Wellness is the place for you. Whatever your wellness needs are, they have it covered. So to book your appointment today, go to rarewellness.com. Again, go to rarewellness.com and mention this podcast for 10% off when you're booking. Okay, time to get back to the episode. No, I love it. It's like that authenticity. And again, I know for people listening, I know for myself, like just taking the steps to start the journey can be so scary because it's like, okay, I know I'm done with the puppet show, but like, I don't know how to be authentic. Like I've spent so long people pleasing. I don't know how to do this. And so for people listening, let this episode just be a tool in your toolbox, a step in the direction to like, just an avenue. There's so many different ways to get to know yourself. There's so many different ways to experience life. So Ashley, just to kick this whole thing off, what is Yin Yoga? I think for people who maybe haven't dove or dive, what's the word?
That's with, no,
I don't either.
Dive deep,
Dive deep. I think for people who maybe haven't dived okay, we're gonna dive. For people who haven't maybe taken the time to dive deep into their yoga practice, they might think that there's just one type of yoga, that yoga is just yoga. And yet there's so many different branches. So can you explain like what is yin specifically and how does it differ from like vinyasa or Bikram or other forms of yoga?
Yeah, absolutely. And I always explain this to my students that are coming to Yin that say they're new. And I am like, are you aware of the class that you're coming into? Because it's very different. It's the yin to your yang. And your yang practice in yoga would be, your vinyasa, your power, your Bikram. And then, but it can also be like bicycling, climbing, basketball, something where you're having to be focused. You don't have the time to really sit with anything and you're working on your muscles. And even though go to power and vinyasa to work on, we're always talking about alignment in class. Now you come to yin because you hold for 3 to 5 minutes. And those positions might be like restorative or you're laying down on the ground. So I'm not asking you to hold warrior 2 for 3 to 5 minutes. These are positions that are working into your deeper connective tissue because once it's about 60 to 90 seconds, our body says, oh, I can relax and I'm going to go a little bit deeper. And the deep connective tissue is what connects your muscles to your bones. And so let's say we're working on a hip series. We're going to be able to open your hips to have long lasting effect. So that you can go back to your yang practice and perform better.
Yes. No, I know when I was first starting out on my journey, I've always been a hyperactive person. Like go. Used to never make time to think, especially when I was in I say like I'm a recovering people pleaser, but when I was in my like heavy people pleaser era, like it's like I never made time to sit in my own thoughts or think for myself. Never slowed down, was constantly running, like doing all the sports, all the movement. And so for me, a yin practice was so uncomfortable. I remember the first class I sat through and I was like, I don't think I'm going to survive. Like I cannot sit here for 6 minutes in a one posture. And it was so incredible because as I kept doing it, I got addicted to like how good it felt to like what you learn about yourself and what you've been holding in your body. And there was times where I ended up going back to like high school or earlier memories and just like setting an intention for that class and like working through maybe an experience that I had just like ran, moved, like it's been so powerful for me. I don't know if you had a journey with yin or like was it comfortable from the beginning for you? Have you had students have similar experiences?
Oh no, well, I'll tell that you my first yin class was,
Tell me.
so I really didn't get into yoga until 2019. And before that, I had maybe taken like 3 yoga classes. And one of the yoga classes, I was in my 20s and I went there on a Friday. And I'm like, yeah, I'm getting pumped up to go out, you know.
Uh-huh.
And I'm sure it was to the bar, obviously, but it was a yin class. And what's so funny is I didn't know we were going to be holding postures for 3 to 5 minutes. It was super warm, and like I ended up falling asleep. And you know how, I don't know if ignorant is the correct word, but we're just going to use that. How ignorant I was, because I was like, what a lame yoga class. Like, what is this? You know, and I just wasn't open to the idea that maybe there's more than just the yoga that I thought. And now that I'm in this world, it's like you want a yin to your yang. So if you're doing 5 days of yang practice, you're going to want at least 2 yin practices, because yoga is about balance.
Yeah.
But I will say the one thing that is challenging in yin that no one thinks about is having to sit with your thoughts. To sit with where are my thoughts at? And that's why I always ask to set an intention.
Yeah.
So that when you are going back to your high school days, when you're going to the future trip all the time, we're always thinking about the past, which is either going to cause depression or anxiety. And then you predict your future based upon past experiences.
Yes.
So when we can already set an intention that we want to come back to, and an intention can be just a manifestation. It's something that you're bringing yourself into, that you're becoming more aware of where your thoughts are being focused, because this is called a yoga practice, a meditation practice, not yoga perfection, a meditation perfection. It's and the more that we can do that, we come to classes for an hour to practice. Where is my mind going? So that when we go out into the battlefield, world, and I'm driving to work and I've spent half of the time thinking about something that doesn't really matter, I'm going to start to, meditation isn't about turning your mind off. It's actually about turning your mind on and being aware that you have thoughts coming through, and where your thoughts and go, your energy flows.
The other crazy thing about what you said is, a lot of our recollection of our past experiences aren't even accurate. I was reading about this case study where it's like, you don't even know if you're remembering the right thing about your past. And anyway, that was just interesting to what you said. And then the other part of meditation yoga is like, it's not about turning your mind off, but let's get off of autopilot and all of these things that are just spiraling us without our control. Let's set an intention to move in the direction that we want to. So I loved everything about what you said.
Yeah. And to add on top of that is that we tell ourselves stories all the time. And I love how you say that when we are thinking about a past experience, it is our version of that past experience.
Yeah.
And that version, usually when I'm thinking about past experiences, for the most part, they're not good ones.
No.
I know a lot of people that reflect on their past and
remember the good. Yeah.
Yeah. And the ones that keep on rolling, right?
Yeah.
I can have beautiful memories and but for some reason, I don't get stuck on those beautiful memories. It's sometimes like, how can I recreate that instead of enjoying this present one? And then, like I said, that's causing you either depression or anxiety. And then we go ahead and predict our future based upon past experiences.
Yes. What are sound bowls? For people listening who don't know, what are they?
Okay. Yeah. Well, sound healing it's so funny because now it's kind of like the fad of sound sound baths or things like that. And sound healing has been around from the very beginning. It's actually been one of the main healing techniques that the ancients have done, that ancient societies or like, tribal societies, the didgeridoo is a sound healing. It's one of the oldest. And so sound bowls can be different materials. Sound bowls. So I was my first ones were quartz crystal sound bowls, which again, what I find so interesting is I love ancient civilizations, and a lot of their buildings are actually how we always talk about the stones were not of that location and they were brought in. Well, a lot of them, like the pyramids of Giza, the Great Pyramids, they are made of quartz crystal. So yeah. So you're gonna have quartz crystal sound bowls a lot. Then you have alchemy sound bowls, which are quartz crystal and then an element or a mineral or something put in there. Like there'll be like a moldavite one. So you have moldavite put in with the quartz crystal fused together and then put in the shape of a bowl. And then you also have Tibetan bowls. And so Tibetan bowls are metal. And they do different things. Like each and I'm sure that there's other ones that I'm not talking about, there's different modalities, but those are the main materials that bowls are made out of. And so and they can be used different ways. So in my sound baths, now crystal bowls, they're more, if you think about it, ethereal. They're working on your energetic body. And then Tibetan bowls, if you think also like metal, it's heavy, it's earth, right? So it's more working like on the physical body, as well as our physical body is tied into our mental body, right?
Yes.
And then with Yin Yoga, you can feel the vibrations. So what I'll do is I'll either ring, like I like to ring the metal bowls, unless I'm around somebody and I can place the metal bowl on them, and then we'll rub the mallet around the rim of the bowl, and it's sending vibrations through that person. With the crystal bowls, you can do that not on the person, and they're going to be able to feel the vibrations going through you because they're sending out these vibrations, and then you're getting the power of the mineral that is going through you, and quartz crystal is super cleansing. Obviously the ancients, I always figure out what the ancients were doing and try to emulate that best I can, because they knew something we didn't. And I hope we can find that out one day, I think we're coming closer.
I completely agree. It's really, I talked about this in the last episode with Carla that we filmed, but how did they know? Sometimes it's just so wild to me that now science is like in somatic experiencing, somatic therapy, a lot of psychotherapy, doctors, like all of these practices that ancient people did, or ancient societies and tribal societies did intuitively, are now being backed by science. And it's just so interesting. I feel like I could have phrased that better, but you know what I mean? It is fascinating to me. And there is a lot of science out there to back and prove a lot of this. I think even with sound healing, it's really interesting where they do studies with water, and like the type of sound or the type of music that is played will literally change the crystal formation in the water. And so what?
Well, if you think about it too, I think it's called schematics. Oh, do not quote me on that though. but you can play a song and it will show you what it's forming, uh, what it would be forming. And so some people will use sand, some people will use water, and those vibrations are exactly what's going through us. And so it's like if you were to put a cup of water on a speaker, that water you're very much going to see beat and vibrate. Well, we are mostly water. So all of our cells are experiencing that information. It's information. And so, like,
Yes.
be careful on what you're listening to.
Well, and it's even further, like when you go and sit in nature, like it's proven to regulate your nervous system, right? And soothe like your body and bring you back to your optimal internal vibration. And so it makes sense that like the rocks that are around you, the water in the ocean, like if just being outside of man-made concrete structures and in like around nature and the minerals and the rocks and the sounds and the waves and the water and the colors, it's like it's not like it makes it just common sense.
And being in nature is a symphony. You have the birds, you have the leaves that are blowing, you have the creaking of the trees, you have the frogs, and you're also touching Mother Earth. In every single home, there is a place where you ground, right? We're literally grounding into Mother Earth so that we can use her energy to do what we're supposed to be doing, because we used to lay and sleep on the floor. We were getting her healing powers from just being around. We didn't have, this is a great movie on Prime. It's called The Earthing movie, EATHING, The Earthing movie. And it goes over this, it's a documentary, and it goes over this guy that was high up in, he was part of making telephone poles and creating the energy to come into the homes. And then he brought up that plastic or rubber then became on our soles of our shoes. And it's literally, and then he had this device that would show somebody without shoes on that you can see the grounding effect, right? And it's all those benefits that you were just saying. And then he'll be right next to somebody that has tennis shoes on, and it's like you can see that they are cut off. So and you hear this a lot too, we're such a cut off society now. And I mean, we are in buildings, we aren't sleeping on the ground, which there actually is grounding sheets, which will then plug into your outlet, which is grounding. And it has a grounding mechanism so that you're plugging into Mother Earth. And so, and it's funny that you say the rocks and the elements, because I never really thought about it. Why does sound healing work? We're using the elements of Earth.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes to all of it. And it's really interesting because I know maybe, I feel like anyone who thinks this is woo is probably tuned out by now. But for sure, there are people who don't, just may not, if you're listening to this and you're like skeptical or you don't understand, even people who maybe don't approach yoga from like a spiritual side or a soul side or a healing side, and maybe just use it as physical activity, even functional medicine doctors and people who are not related to yoga at all, when they talk about healing your hormones, one of the first things that they recommend for nervous system regulation is go barefoot and go outside.
Yeah.
And there's really no argument, again, with the studies of sound and its effect on your body and on your mind and on your nervous system. So I always find it fascinating because obviously there's 1,000,001 different ways that people approach life, 1,000,001 different belief systems. And yet, regardless of what language you use around this, like, it is consensus. Like, it is consensus that like nature matters and its effects on our nervous system is huge. And so obviously when you're having a practice like sound healing, exactly what you said, when you have the minerals, you have the sound, you're playing specific notes to help regulate the body for the people listening, it's going to have transformative effects for people.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And to add to that, because I do understand sometimes people, sometimes it is a skeptical thing and you really just have to try it. But here's the thing is that my sound bowls, I have usually always 7 of them, and they'll be A through G, notes A through G, which are just like the piano, which are in every musical instrument. And undeniably, there are happy songs, there are sad songs.
Yes.
There is in horror films, you know, it creates tension. It creates, you know, you have these triads. And so you're not just getting the physical benefits of vibration that you can feel, you are getting an emotional benefit that you may or may not be tuned into. In every sound bath or every yin class you go to, you're becoming more aware of your thoughts and your body and the effects that you have when you walk outside the room.
Yes.
So I always just recommend, whether or not you believe what we're saying, sometimes people get desperate enough just to try about everything. And I hope you don't have to get desperate enough. I hope you just have an open mind to try something. Because, and I stopped taking, actually, this transformed my life, because I was going from pharmaceutical rep, you know, and being, you know, in addiction, to yoga sound healer.
The contrast is amazing. I love the juxtaposition of those two things.
Thank you. Yeah. They're so polar opposite. What a yin to the yang, right? I know. And so I removed woo-woo out of my vocabulary in 2021 because
I love that.
Because I kept on like trying to prove it to people. But here's the thing, I had done all the research in science. I have a zoology degree. I'm very science-based. Yeah. I want to be able to get through to as many people as I can. And so when I removed the word woo-woo out of my vocabulary, my external world changed, because it's not woo-woo to me. It's actually not woo-woo at all, because the science backs it. And I think that Western, you know, I think that there's, I'm actually getting trained in the Munai Key healing rites, and it talks about the Mayans and Indians. They are have been waiting for science to catch up to this Eastern type of thinking and be able to really mold the two together, because I think they're both really important. And I can't, I'm seeing it now, and I see it more and more. And that is like, that's in scriptures, that's in old texts, that once they are being able to be put together, we can really start to change, because both of them have great things. And sometimes, you know what? I had to watch my first thing because I used to think crystals were rocks, you know. I used to be that person that's like,
definitely still so many people I know who do. Yeah.
And there's this thing called spirit science. It's on YouTube, and it's got these cute little puppet things, and it goes over, it's obviously spirit science. So it's the first thing that was able to get through to me. It took scientific research into a spiritual world to where I was like, okay, so there's an explanation beyond that I can't deny. I don't know if I believe it yet.
Yes.
But I would like to experience it, because once we experience something, I don't think that we have to explain it.
100%. Well, and there's so many things in life that you know they're there, but we can't fully like bottle or grasp, or like and you can't deny. It's like, how do you quantify love? How do you explain love, right? Like, and yet you can't deny that it's real, right? So it's like there's just so So I love everything you said, and I think we should just like rewind, listen to that, and I love what you said. I don't have to believe it, but I can't deny that it's there. Today's podcast is brought to you by the Premium Center for Regenerative Medicine and Stem Cell Therapy in the Northwest Center for Regenerative Medicine. Get back to the activities that you love without needing surgery. You can book your appointment at nwc4rm.com. Again, that's nwc4rm.com. This podcast is also brought to you by Rare Wellness Supplements. You can head over to rareplanethealth.com to get your supplements. My personal favorite is the premium fish oil filled with omega-3s. Again, you can go to rareplanethealth.com and get the supplements that you most need to support your health and wellness today. Lastly, this podcast is also brought to you by Rare Wellness. Rare Wellness is located on the South Hill in Spokane and is one center that provides all the wellness tools that you could need. Whether you're looking for a hands-on, premium, intimate yoga studio with a therapeutic emphasis, bar classes, Tai Chi classes, if you're looking for skincare treatments, injectable, hydrofacial, microneedling, organic spa treatments, if you're wanting to get therapeutic massaged or book functional medicine appointments to get down to the root cause of your inflammation, Rare Wellness is the place for you. Whatever your wellness needs are, they have it covered. So to book your appointment today, go to rarewellness.com. Again, go to rarewellness.com and mention this podcast for 10% off when you're booking. Okay, time to get back to the episode. And I think the other thing we forget too is like, even in our Western culture and Western society, like all religion was really Eastern. Like even Christianity, we forget that that was an Eastern, like that we forget that its origins were not in the same context that we experience it in. So there's just so much like, anyway, this is like a whole different episode. I honestly would love to have like a worldview or like world religion, like, expert on the podcast and just talk about it. Talk about like, I would love to go into like ancient practices, tribal practices, and then modern day discoveries in science that are like, they were so far ahead of us. And I wish you would have listened sooner. And I also love that you're getting your new certification that you're getting. That's so cool. Tell me a little bit more about that.
Oh yeah. So the Mune key,
I always mess up the words too.
And they're 9 healing rights, and they actually are rights as humans that we are supposed to have. And so like once they get passed down to me, I am able to pass them on to other people, and it makes you more aware of these things. And when you're like, I call it like being activated, and it's like, and it ties in to, I do sound bath ceremonies, and I always do the 4 directions. And this talks about the 7 directions, and then it relates to the different, dare I say, chakras, or energy centers, whatever you want.
I love it.
And the archetypes, and it's just like, it totally ties in to all of the things that we know that are around us, and you can find a scientific version of that. And one thing I did learn about the whole because I grew up Catholic, and then when I went to Bali for my yoga certification, and I started studying yoga, it's like, yoga, you can have at the very top, you can have about 1,000 words underneath it. One of them is going to be postures. And so yoga used to be, I'm not going to pronounce this maybe the best way, but Satan Dharma, which is upholding the world's purpose. And then once that got put into scriptures, we had 6 schools. Once we put it into scriptures, because yoga is a spiritual practice, then the Hinduism came, and the Mahabharata came. Now with Kabbalah is a spiritual practice. My friend, actually, we traded knowledge between each other, and I think the universe sent me that person. The Kabbalah got when she's like teaching me this stuff, I'm like, oh my God, this is the correlation in yoga, not physical yoga, but spiritual yoga. And when the Kabbalah got put into scriptures, and then the Torah was made, and then Judaism, and then Catholicism and Christianity. And so it's like, once it got put into scripture, then we had this man-made interpretation, instead of like with yoga, your guru made sure that you were, I don't know if worthy is the correct word, because I think we're all worthy, but like that you are doing the work of the moral codes and ethics that the number 1 and 2 of 8 limbs of yoga are, that then they decided, okay, you're ready for this knowledge. You're going to treat it with care. And they're getting that straight downloads, from the divine. And now when we read scriptures, just like we were talking about before, we make up stories in our heads. I make up stories all the time. My sponsor always tells me, if you're going to make up a story, make up a good one, right? Because they're both not true.
No, and truly everything in this life is like how we experience it in the story we tell ourselves. And so, I mean, I feel like that's even such a great relational tool that I've heard is, if you're talking to someone, instead of being like, you did this, or I, whatever, it's just like the story I'm telling myself about the situation is XYZ, right? So it's like, anyway, I love all of that. So, yeah.
And to go into what yoga and sound healing does for the story that we want to tell ourselves, is actually it's rewiring your brain. It's creating new pathways, and it's creating yoga coupled with therapy. Is the number 1 thing to increase neuroplasticity. And so neuroplasticity is, again, new pathways, how we experience the world and how we can go forward. So just before coming into my yin class, I'll always ask people to set an intention. So that's at the forefront, right? You're creating a new pathway. And also, then we hit it home with the sound bath at the end, because it's just creating more energy. Everything in this world is energy. So the more that we can put towards that, but we got to be, again, setting those intentions, setting those manifestations as if we already have them, and applying a feeling to it. So like gratitude, appreciation, love, and care and compassion are some of the strongest emotions you can attach to a manifestation or intention, because when that comes into your life, when it's sitting right in front of you, you've already put yourself in the point of, I am worthy to have this, and I'm going to grab onto it, and things start to come to you instead of you going to them.
Because otherwise, if you don't even believe that you're worthy of the experience, everything could align for you, and you're going to find a way to reject it because you don't believe that you deserve it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. No.
Yeah. One thing I always say is, I will go out and find people to prove me right. And my story used to be that I wasn't good enough. And I used to find a lot of people that would prove to me that I was not good enough. And if you're a recovering people pleaser, so am I. I love that. I use that all the time now, by the way.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's like, so why don't I change my narrative? I'm worthy. I'm enough. I do mirror work all the time.
Same.
Because just because I told myself it once doesn't negate the 39 years I've been on this earth of telling myself a different story. And my journey really started, at 33.
Yeah.
But again, it doesn't negate all that reprogramming. And so we can use things like Yin Yoga. We can use things like sound healing to realign ourselves so that maybe when we walk out, we start to believe these stories. And it's not as hard. They're tools. They're called peanuts for a reason.
No, it's so good. And like you said, it's a daily practice of rewiring, and finding the tools that work for you. And I know personally, yin and sound healing has just been one of the best ways for me, because like I said, being a hyperactive little ball of energy. It used to be like, it's hard for me to sit down and meditate for 30 minutes to an hour. But you give me a yin class, you give me, I can do it now because there's still some movement incorporated. And then slowly that turned into being able to like sit in my own mind. And then now I can meditate and I can, but it's such a beautiful tool in the toolbox. It's such a beautiful way to rewire that internal narrative so that we can choose different situations, because it's like you said, if I believe I'm worthy, if I believe I'm loved, and that's deeply integrated into my soul, into my body, into every part of me, then when I encounter a situation that disrespects me or doesn't provide that value, I'm like, wait a second, this doesn't align here. I'm gonna leave. Yeah.
Yes. And what I've actually been working on, it's like, oh, my poor little girl. In the last like year and a half, I've really been working on expressing my feelings and ideas because I could identify that there's something wrong here, on how I'm being treated, and I don't like it. But then the next part of my journey was, wait, how do I express my feelings and ideas? Because I used to just be an avoidant and I used to just shut down. And I'm like, I can survive this uncomfortable situation until I can get through this, you know? And so that's actually, and I like how you said, because I'm a super hyperactive person too. My sports getting into like through my journey after addiction was hot yoga, hot power vinyasa yoga.
110-degree heat.
The
most extreme.
And it wasn't just like kind of rock climbing. Like I went full in like climbing rocks outside. I got all the gear.
That's incredible.
Skiing, you know, double black diamond skiing, anything that was adrenaline, give it to me. And now my practice has really shifted into so I mean, I still love the adrenaline things, but I can now, again, I can sit in meditation. I can sit. Sometimes I won't turn on my music in my car, and I'm like, okay with it now. So if anyone's listening right now, it wasn't always like this for me, but it was the more I did it in smaller increments and didn't get mad at myself about I wasn't doing it perfectly, the point that you're even doing it. And then the other point is, do you like doing this? Because if you don't like doing this, there's a difference between not liking something and being uncomfortable. If you don't like to do it, don't do it. Find a different way for meditation, because rock climbing is meditation. But if it's uncomfortable, recognize it's uncomfortable and then keep on going. See how uncomfortable you can get, because man, it is beautiful when you start to get uncomfortable.
I love that. And I read a quote the other day that was like, or I think Carla said in her house, being uncomfortable is a part of being human. And that's the part that we all forget. So yes, I absolutely love what you said. It's also just beautiful to see. It's a practice. You said earlier, I love this quote like from you earlier, where you were like, it's called a meditation or a yoga practice, not yoga perfection, right? So, and it's just so beautiful to watch the journey evolve. And like you said, it's like where you're at now, and growing to be comfortable with sitting with yourself and being in your own presence, and like sitting with those thoughts and being your own friend and exploring the inner world. Like it comes with time, and the way that looks changes over time. And so it's just so beautiful. And if you're listening to this, just start in the smallest way. Like if we have to challenge you with one thing, it's like, whether that's like 5 minutes, or maybe you decide to sign up for your first class, or you decide to, you know, do a car ride where you turn the music off. And I love what you said about making it feel good. It should feel good and then keep growing over time. So I love it.
Absolutely. If it doesn't feel good, what are we on this planet to do? We're supposed to be here to enjoy life.
But that's another internal belief that sometimes needs rewiring, is you don't have to punish yourself. You don't have to suffer. Like you can experience joy because you deserve it, not because of something you did, but simply just because you're a being. you know?
Yes.
And
Well,
it's like, if you don't rewire that and you don't believe that, then I don't know.
yeah, and we're the creator of our own story.
Yeah.
You know, when I don't like the story I'm telling myself, I go ahead and sit down and I'm like, what are we doing here? And
Yeah.
honestly, for me, again, sound, it rewires my nervous system because sometimes, like, so I teach breath and meditation in my classes. Sometimes that's not the first thing I go to. And I keep tuning forks in my car. And my sister-in-law got me this really cool, it's like a bell, and then it has an extender on it, and then it has a thing to ring it, and it has the most beautiful sound. She got it for me for Christmas.
I love
So
that.
it sits in my car because you know what? Sometimes a car is a little stressful, or like, you know, you're getting out of a situation, you're getting back in your car and you're like, I need to decompress. And just by like ringing that and putting it around my head and then putting it right down the center of me,
Grounding.
it's grounding. It puts me back into, oh, that really didn't matter that much.
Yeah.
And I can come back and focus, direct my attention to what you would rather have me be, universe. Because angry and sad and lonely is not what it wants us to be.
100%. Well, Ashley, I think we're coming to the end of our time for this. I feel like me and you could talk for hours.
Yes.
I always love talking to you. Thank you so much for making your time to do this. And guys, if you're listening and you have questions or you want to take a class from Ashley, you can look her up on Instagram. Do you want to give your handle?
Yeah, it's at _sunshine_warrior_.
I love it. I love it. And you guys can also find her at Rare Wellness. You can click the link in the description and find a class time with her. She does yin and sound healing twice a week.
Yes, twice a week on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 6:15.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you guys enjoyed this episode, please leave us a review. Don't hesitate to reach out to us at Rare Wellness Podcast and send us in your questions for future episodes. We love getting to have this conversation and just empowering you with different tools and modalities to help you live your best life and to feel connected to self. So Ashley, thank you so much. I had so much fun.
Thank you. This was wonderful.
I know. Bye guys.
Bye.